Welcome to Scam of the Week. Who's next for Senator Michaelia Cash? Who will she invite under when she gets into office? Who will she invite down under when she gets into office? Ted Bundy, perhaps? Of course not, because Ted only did the murdering. No war crimes, and he never stole anybody's house, and never stole anybody's land, never bulldozed anybody's house.
Minister, is Prime Minister Netanyahu welcome on Australian soil?
Oh, Senator, I don't believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu is seeking a visit to Australia at this point.
Well, is he welcome on Australian soil, though?
Yeah, that's a hypothetical. I mean,
well, it's not a hypothetical, because I can assure you, under a Dutton government, he is welcome here. Well, is he welcome on Australian soil under you as the Foreign Minister and Mr Albanese as the Prime Minister?
That is a hypothetical, and I won't be responding to it.
Well, you've just sent a very clear message across Australia to Jewish Australians that you are unable to answer under your government and under your leadership as our Foreign Minister whether or not the Prime Minister of Israel is welcome on Australian soil.
Senator, I'm not... Well, they're your words. And that,
okay, well,
your motivation behind, and I think everyone can see your motivation behind it, Senator Cash.
Well,
I think everyone can see your motivation behind that.
We stand with Israel.
Well,
we stand with Israel. We stand with the democracy, and we are prepared to say that Prime Minister Netanyahu is welcome here under a Dutton government.
So this exchange between Senator Wong and Senator Cash really highlights the divisions between Liberal and Labor on foreign policy. They're as one, holding fast to AUKUS. But when it comes to America and Israel, one is more ardent than the other. Peter Netanyahu would rather roll out the red carpet for war criminals and make the first call when he gets into office, as he's pledged to do to Benjamin Netanyahu, while Labor would rather just ignore it and hope it all goes away, say some sort of mealy-mouthed words about it all. But Albo has extended this very week an invitation to none other than Donald Trump to come down under. Yes, the guy whose regime, whose ICE troops are now kidnapping people, grabbing people on the street for expressing political views, and then secreting them off to internment camps in places like El Salvador. Yes, our friends, the land of the free. Play Delulu.
They are Delulu with no Salulu, Mr Speaker.
Yes, it was budget week, and Labor wedged the coalition with what they branded the cruel hoax tax cuts. It was a neat wedge, mind you, or slay, as Albo might call it, leaving Peter Netanyahu looking a bit mean on cost of living relief. To be fair, it was a bit of a cruel hoax because it left the coalition looking mean. Not only that, but it left them looking outplayed a bit too. Could they leapfrog Labor with bigger tax cuts? Then they might be derided for being inflationary. And when you look at the substance, we use that word very lightly, substance, of the tax cuts, it's $5 a week. $5 a week in 16 months' time. Cost of $17 billion to the budget. That's all within the expanded forecasts, more money coming in the door, they're counting on that, and costs falling, they're counting on that. But when you look at the lag and take into account that in Australia, in this country, 520 people die every day, that amounts to 240,240 people who won't be getting their tax cut come July 1 next year. Imagine being the 240,239th or 40th person. It's June 30, 2026, and you're heaving in breaths through an oxygen mask, just hanging out for dear life for Jim Chalmers' $5 tax cut. The good news is, and this is real equity, visionary policy, Gina Rinehart and Andrew Twiggy Forrest won't be shivering this winter under their blankies because they can't afford to turn on the gas. Not only do they get their Jim Chalmers tax cut, they also get their energy rebate because it's not means tested, you see. This is the corporate welfare. This is the welfare for billionaires program under what Sky News calls this far-left government of Anthony Albanese, welfare for billionaires. As Albo would say, that's not Delulu, that's lit. Now, Michael West Media We couldn't get anybody into budget lockup this week as we, although technically part of the gallery, were unable to get a form in on time. They're big on their forms down there in the nation's capital and on keeping undesirables out. But not just journos this year. It wasn't just journos there for the budget lockup. The budget lockup is when they bring you in 5 hours early and you get the chance to go through stacks of paper and get your stories written for 7:30 when it goes live. Now, it was influencers too, which actually got an invite, unlike yours truly, to the budget this year, which we thought was very avant-garde of the government, or as Albo would say, bussin' with the Insta-fam. Now, we take the government to the Australian Human Rights Commission, the AHRC, for being ageist, but they've got too much work on their hands dealing with the deluge of traffic from the Israel lobby trying to bust people for anti-Semitism, which has traditionally done very little on a very large budget. They now find themselves, the Human Rights Commission, with a heavy burden of figuring out how to stonewall and sidestep all this work which is coming their way without being called anti-Semitic themselves. But it was gas. It was gas. Not that kind of gas, Albo. The other kind, which we pay through the nose for despite being the biggest LNG exporter in the world. The stuff which we export 80% of. Now, incredibly, Peter Netanyahu deserves commendations for this. He might have done a mighty U-turn from the days of deriding the idea of a domestic gas reservation policy. But yes, there it was. In Peter's budget reply speech, the coalition is now advocating for a domestic gas reservation policy. That just means you earmark some of the gas, this immense amount of gas which we produce in Australia, you earmark it for actually Australians, for us, for the people that actually own it. You see, that's why they pay royalties. They're not taxes. They're payments to the state for the minerals that are dug out of the ground or drilled out of the seabed. You're meant to pay royalties as well as income tax, like everybody else. But of course, they don't do that. This foreign gas cartel, not big on paying tax. Some of them pay no tax at all and haven't for years. Others pay a little bit. PRRT is completely broken, and the foreign gas cartel drills this stuff and exports the profits, paying little or no tax or royalties, exports the profits, repatriates the profits from our gas. And so it is that in Japan, sometimes consumers can buy gas cheaper than they can, Australian gas cheaper than Australians can buy Australian gas, even after shipping it, even after piping it to Gladstone, turning it into LNG. It costs them about $3 a gigajoule, and then shipping it 17,000 k's to Japan. Still cheaper in Tokyo. But Peter Dutton, to his credit, has embraced the idea of a domestic gas reservation policy, at least for a little while. And that is good policy. We're meant to being slightly stonkered by this, or Delulu. But this is good. It is lit, as Albo would say. It is slay. So what do? They see it and match it. Do they see it and match it? Labor's completely owned by the gas cartel, as we know. So this would hurt a lot of feelings among Labor's fossil fuel lobbying fam. They wouldn't think it was very lit or slay, Albo. They've done it before with another sensible coalition policy. Yes, there was another one. We've mentioned this on a couple of occasions, banning foreign ownership, or foreign buying rather, for the next couple of years, of residential property. No-brainer. It's only on established property, not new builds, but it's a good idea. Why should Australians have to compete with wealthy foreign buyers who are just buying an investment property where they probably don't even have the water on? Just as the coalition did it with the PBS rebate down to $25 and Medicare, that $8.5 billion leg up for Medicare, matched by the coalition. Will they match it in gas? It is a no-brainer for mine. They've got an excuse now for their gas lobby mates. They can just say, look, those guys did it. We've got to do it. We've got to get on board. And besides, we're coming up to that one day every 3 years when it's not the corporations that count. It's the voters. Yes, when we get our say. What a time to be alive. Nuclear power, meanwhile, in the budget reply, remains in witness protection program. The place where policies go when they are just a scam. No mention of it. 2 mentions rather than the budget supply. That for the uncosted $600 billion putative spend Moral of the story, the majors are just tinkering around the edges with reforms and matching each other with little forms, little vision. No reform of any note to take the country forward, but plenty of fair to good little things, particularly on the Labor side. So was the Netanyahu's response to Albo's cruel hoax tax cuts was cutting petrol excise. Yes, cutting petrol taxes. It's a bit discriminatory because Albo's splashing it to everybody. Everybody gets one of Albo's tax cuts. Peter Dutton, he's splashing it in the burbs, in the suburbs. He's given up on the Teals by the look of it. Doesn't think he can make much of a dent in the Teals. They'll just bag them all the way to election day, which is May 3. It's been announced. Hallelujah. Even though the campaign's been going since January. Scam of the week. Well, it's pretty easy this week. There were a few runners-up, a few contenders. There's some good stuff around the working from home policy. Or as Albo would say, working from crib. Peter Dutton wants people back from the crib to the office. And Sarah Hanson-Young, a spectacular, an operatic performance in the Senate, where she sallied forth with a very large fish, a dead salmon, bandied this salmon about. Certainly made the point with that prop. They're not meant to use props, chunks of coal and big salmon, but she did it nonetheless with this big dead fish. It may cost Albo a few votes to the Greens, this one. It's a very hot issue in Tassie. That is salmon farming and the toxic effect on endangering rare species such as the Maugean skate, all because of a couple of large corporations. Or step, very robustly,
you're a pack of mongrels!
Extraordinary pressure on the broader community.
Sorry.
You're a pack of mongrels, he said. Early in the week, the biggest story for a day, it ran for 24 hours, was Teal, Monique Ryan's husband, who made off scurrilously with a Liberal Party election poster. Heinous, absolutely heinous. Who would do such a thing? And there was a furore over that. Those dreaded Teal stealing up posters. I'm sure if they polled people, they did a news poll and asked if people had ever stolen, defaced, removed, moved a sign, it'd probably get a few ticks in the box. But Senator Michaelia Cash, she is home by 5 lengths this week for her valour in defending the war criminal of the 21st century. Services to genocide. This is unrivaled scammery. What was she hoping to achieve? Is it a job post-politics? Why would you do this? Well, an election has been called for May the 3rd. We have a date. We're going to keep it going all the way through the election, and we've got some election gear, which we're going to start to, some merch, we're going to start to wear a bit now. This one is our News Corps, when news goes to die t-shirt. I've got a good nuclear one too. We'll wear it on the next video maybe. Enjoy your weekend. Please hit the bell, subscribe. 99,000 or something. Help us get to 100,000 so we can get a plaque. Maybe we get a different rank up the algo or something like that. Get the message out.